Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. I'm now on Instagram, Movies TV Mad X. Oh boy. Hello. It's been a whirlwind of a journey for DC fans yet again since last October with the release of Black Adam. Already, we've had 4 flops from the old DCEU, including an official statement last year that Henry Cavill was returning as Superman. That decision was very quickly reversed, allegedly by James Gunn. But I've always believed, because I'm a very suspicious, cynical person, don't trust bloody anyone in this world, I always believed that that was a lie. Henry was never coming back, and that was just reported to sell more tickets for Black Adam. It didn't work. Henry was never coming back. That was a facade. We've had a myriad of false dawns, false information. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows if this is a full reboot. Well, up until now, we were led to believe that this wouldn't be, a full reboot, but a soft reboot. Well, today, here and now, I can exclusively reveal that my sources have contacted me to tell me that James Gunn's DC Universe will now be a full reboot. But I can go deeper than that right here and right now yet again, because I can tell you that was always going to be the case. So why didn't they just tell us that in the first place? Well, there's a very big reason. These movies that they've been releasing, beginning with Black Adam last year, they wanted to give us the impression that these movies would be connected to the new DC Universe to try and get people, to inspire people to go to cinemas, and it hasn't worked. I don't expect James Gunn or anyone at WB or DC Studios to confirm that this now will be a full reboot. I believe it was always going to be a full reboot. I've always wanted a full reboot. You can't keep on trying to recycle the Snyderverse and throw bright colours on it. It's not going to work. But James Gunn has been making some interesting noises in the past few weeks. At first we were led to believe that his Suicide Squad universe, Peacemaker and Waller, were part of this new plan. A few weeks ago he said, like, the Suicide Squad and Waller and Peacemaker had nothing to do with DC Universe. And I believe him, especially with what my sources have been telling me. But as I say, I kind of believe now that it was always going to be a full reboot. And look, this is a good thing. This is good. I still don't think this is the time to start launching cinematic universes. But if you're going to do it, you need to start from scratch. You need to forget Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 84, The Flash movie, Black Adam, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, blah, blah, blah. All of them. You just need to forget all of them and start from scratch. I like quite a few movies in the DC Extended Universe, preferably Zack Snyder's Snyderverse, of course. But I never wanted any of that to be connected to James Gunn's universe. James Gunn has cast a brand new Superman and a Lois Lane. He will cast a brand new Batman. That's the right thing. And we shouldn't see Peacemaker in this new universe. We shouldn't see, that's not what we should see. Now, interestingly enough, if James Gunn was appointed the co-CEO of DC Studios just before he launched his Suicide Squad movie, then he could have kind of launched it from the Suicide Squad, and then you could have done that. It's interesting because unofficially it could have been that the Suicide Squad was part of this universe, but that's not what I'm being told right now. But look, we'll see. His Suicide Squad universe may still be part of DC Universe, which really pisses off some people. But at least it's a movie he wrote and directed. So you can kind of say, well, yeah, he made it. Why can't he be part of this universe? Well, It can't be because we saw Captain Boomerang. We saw Rick Flag. So we're getting Rick Flag Sr. in Creature Commandos, I think, and maybe even in The Authority, who knows. But, Rick Flag Sr. is going to be the version of the character we're going to see in the DCU, James Gunn's new universe. That's interesting. We're going to see a version of one of the members of the Green Lantern Corps as well, in Superman Legacy. So it's all very, very exciting and interesting if it's executed in the right way. But I think for James Gunn to have any head start on this, it has to be a full reboot. And if this is true, I'm very, very happy. We don't want a soft reboot. Nobody wants a soft reboot. And I imagine James Gunn doesn't want a soft reboot either. Why would any sane creative want to be linked with the disastrous DCEU? Even though I love the Snyderverse, it's all tainted for one reason or the other. You've got to leave it behind and do your own thing. The thing's been a disaster, right? It's been, it's just been controversial. A lot of the movies failed. The other movies didn't make as much money as the studio wanted. There's been toxicity between the studio and Snyder. Why would you want to keep that alive? I mean, personally, if I came in, or if I was Zaslav, I'd want to forget all of that immediately. One of the problems has been, since last October's release of Black Adam and the rest of these movies, Zaslav has been desperate to kind of make these movies make money. Because why wouldn't he? The problem is the tactics they've used have been all wrong. As I said the other day, I remember the quote from Zaslav. They're great movies and we can make them better. No, you can't. They were never great movies. They've been changed again and again and again. This is the reason why James Gunn was interfering with the Flash movie, why he's been interfering with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, because Zaslav has ordered him to make them better. Of course, if he allowed Momoa and Wan just to make their movie, it would be brilliant. But it's not the case anymore. With Hamada interfering, with Gunn interfering, it's a disaster. Who knows what's going to happen with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? But it does sound like, from what I'm hearing, and take it with a pinch of salt of course, that we are getting a full reboot. And if we do, I'll be very, very happy. We need a new Batman, a new Superman, we need a fresh look at Green Arrow, a fresh look at the Flash, we've got to, look, that's the beauty of this. If we do a full reboot, we don't need to be asking the questions about Grant Gustin or Ezra Miller, if either of them are going to be involved. It's brand new. Then James Gunn can put his name on this proudly and say, well, this is my vision. This is what me and Peter wanted to do. Let's go and see if it's going to work. A comic book accurate, cinematic universe, as they did at first in the early days of the MCU. But this is going to be no MCU according to Gunn. It's going to be very fantastical. So that's one thing we've been told. And, a fantastical DC universe is something that we really haven't seen before. We saw Superman the movie, which was, I suppose, fantastical in a way, but then we had a villain like Luthor, just, causing chaos in Metropolis just so he can get some land. So that's more realistic rather than, a super duper villain. Man of Steel, they were trying to set Superman in the real world. Same with BVS, same with the Snyder Cut. So we've never really had a fantastical, DC cinematic universe. Not that we've had very many cinematic universes. We've had trilogies, we've had the Reeveverse, things like that. But, we've never had a cinematic universe, and we certainly haven't never had a successful DC cinematic universe. And we've been so desperate for so long as DC fans, since we've been small boys and girls, to have a successful, exciting, awesome, epic cinematic universe. Yes, individually, there's lots of DC TV shows and movies I've really enjoyed. as Superman the movie, and as in Batman 89, the Dark Knight trilogy, especially Batman Begins, The Batman, Joker, and so many more. Batman Returns is a personal favourite of mine. I'm forgetting so many more. So, you know, I love the Snyderverse. There's many DC movies I've enjoyed. But we've never had a cinematic universe because Snyder wasn't allowed to finish off his cinematic universe. They interfered with that. They interfered with Green Lantern, and that's why it ended up being the movie it was. They interfered with David Ayer's Suicide Squad. That's why it was never the movie it was supposed to be. Now, if James Gunn can have a free hand at this, despite the clusterfuck, you know, I'm not taking back what they've been doing, the interference in the DCEU movies, desperate for them to make money, and they've just made the situation worse. James, you know, constantly teasing the new universe while we had 5 movies or 4 movies or whatever. I mean, this year it's been 4 movies because Black Adam was released last year, but that's tainted the situation. Things like, oh, the Flash movie is one of the best CBs I've ever seen. You know, very, very dishonest. But this all comes from desperation to make money on a bunch of bad and mid movies. And that's the truth. At the end of the day, if you're going to release these movies, and I don't think they should have ever released these movies because Zaslav said he was protecting the DC brand by shelving Batgirl. Well, if he really wanted to, protect the DC brand, he should have shelved all of them. And that is my defining belief. That's where the mistake was. You should have got tax write-downs on every single movie. Kept quiet for this year. No DC movies this year. That's fine. Let James Gunn quietly do his job. Of course, these strikes don't help the situation either, because we don't know when James and Matt Reeves can go back to work and, work on the Batman 2, work on Superman Legacy. Superman Legacy is supposed to start shooting next January. And who knows? I mean, I predicted that these strikes should be over by December, but who knows? Because really, the studios are really digging in. They're really trying to create a situation where a lot of these, creatively bankrupt people are driven out of the industry. So they're quite happy to sit there. Some of the studios even think, saying they're saving so much money and their profit levels are going slightly up because of these strikes. It's insane because there's no foundations in that. In short term, they may be making money, but ultimately in 6 months, they'll be losing money when there's nothing to put into cinemas or streaming services. So this needs to be resolved. And let me be clear about these strikes. The people on strike are just as responsible for what's happened to Hollywood as the people running the corporations. They're all as bad as each other. They're deluded. They live in self-denial. And this is why we are where we are. But if my source is correct, and DC Universe will be a full reboot, I'm extremely happy. This is what I wanted from the very beginning, because I can never forget all the misinformation, the untruths that James Gunn and Zaslav have uttered, but I can't let that go if we get a full reboot. And it's a great attempt to give the fans what they want, because ultimately we're all DC fans, and all we really want is a great cinematic universe, even though I believe it's gone past the time for a cinematic universe. If Gunn can actually do it, a full reboot, and do his thing, maybe he can pull it off. Who knows? I'm a guy who has his glass half full and not half empty. So I always want to believe in whoever's running this thing. When Jeff Johns was running it, I tried to believe in him. I didn't want to believe the things that the Snyderverse stands was saying about him. A lot of it was true. I didn't want to believe what people were saying about Joss Whedon. I grew up watching Buffy and Angel and his other stuff. The man's a genius. Avengers Assemble, the first Avengers movie. Genius. I actually like Age of Ultron. A very talented man. And I'll still stand by this. If him and Jeff Johns, after BVS, started again, full reboot, and did their own thing, I think then they could have delivered us something special. If only they were honest that they had created differences with Zack. Zack could have gone his way early, and they could have just started again. But they didn't want to do that. They kept on trying to recycle the Snyderverse and splash bright colours on it. And that's where the mistake is. But the best thing right now for DC is for James Gunn to do a full reboot.